In a lot of Western cities, taking the train begins with a small act of surrender. You leave earlier than you should. You check the app twice. You stand under a board that may or may not be right. A platform changes and people break into a run. An announcement dissolves into noise. 4 minutes becomes 9, then 12. The system slips and the passenger is expected to absorb it. Then you go to Japan and the emotional logic feels different. In 2017, a train on the Tsukuba Express near Tokyo left about 20 seconds early. The operator apologized publicly. Why would a railway apologize for leaving about 20 seconds early? To outsiders, that can sound almost comic. But the apology matters because it reveals the rule underneath the system. The railway had taken time that did not belong to it. That is the deeper reason Japan's trains can make the West look broken. Not because every Western railway is bad, and not because Japan is perfect, but because Japan shows what public life feels like when wasting people's time is treated as a real failure. Outsiders usually fixate on the Shinkansen, but the deeper story is the ordinary train, because that is where the promise becomes daily life. It is the commuter line that arrives again a few minutes later, the metro that turns into a suburban railway without forcing you to think about it, the platform where the doors stop exactly where the floor markings said they would, the transfer you barely notice because the system already thought about it for you. JR East alone reports 11,863 trains a day and about 16.08 million daily passengers. Tokyo Metro carries an average of 6.84 million passengers a day. This is not a polished showcase for visitors. It is ordinary life at enormous scale, and that scale changes the meaning of punctuality. In Japan, the timetable is not just information, it is shared social time. Work, school, childcare, meetings, deliveries, and the last trip home are all arranged around the assumption that the train will arrive close enough to when it said it would. So when the system slips, the damage is not only a late arrival, it is a break in the daily timing structure people built around it. That is why even short disruptions are treated as something the operator owes the passenger an explanation for. JR East and Tokyo Metro publish delay certificates when local lines are delayed by about 5 minutes or more. In many places, 5 minutes barely feels reportable. In Japan, it can become a formal acknowledgement. The message is subtle but powerful. Your time counted. We know we disrupted it. Here is the proof. This attitude did not come from punctuality culture alone, it came from how Japanese cities were built. In many Western systems, rail feels like one service among several. One body runs the trains, another owns the station, another manages the land around it. The passenger ends up feeling the seams. In Japan, entire neighborhoods were developed around the line and the station. Post-war growth did not just spread away from the tracks, it gathered around them. Private railway groups helped shape that pattern. Companies like Tokyu did not only run trains, they developed suburbs, commercial districts, and long daily life corridors along their lines. The railway was not an isolated utility, it was the spine of a place. That is why a Japanese station often feels less like a boarding point and more like a compressed piece of city. At Tokyo Station, Shinjuku, Shibuya, Ikebukuro, or dozens of smaller hubs, the commute spills into food halls, underground passages, lockers, ticket gates, meeting points, office connections, and quick errands. JR East describes stations as platforms for daily life. That is not marketing language. It is a literal description of how the trip works. A station like this gives time back. You do not only ride through it, you stack daily tasks inside it. Dinner, coffee, a pickup, a transfer, a short wait, a walk to the office. The system saves time not only by moving you faster, but by compressing life around the movement. That changes the business logic of reliability. If a railway company only earns money from fares, punctuality is one target among many. But when the same corridor also supports retail, hotels, offices, housing, and area value, delay becomes more expensive. A late train does not just inconvenience a rider, it weakens the value of the whole line. Tokyu says most of its assets are concentrated along its own corridor. Keio's business is spread across transportation, real estate, hotels, construction and maintenance, and life services. In this model, punctuality is not just customer service, it helps hold an entire ecosystem together. The passenger feels something simpler. Tokyo Metro says 7 of its 9 lines run reciprocal through services with other railway companies. One official example links the Tobu Skytree line, the Tokyo Metro Hansomon line, and the Tokyu Den-en Toshi line. A rider can stay on what feels like one trip while the system quietly crosses company boundaries underneath. Behind that feeling are different operators, different rules, and tight timing that has to survive the morning rush. Tokyo Metro's own training material says the minimum interval can fall to 2 minutes and 5 seconds. At that pace, the network cannot afford to let small confusion grow. So the system absorbs complexity before the passenger has to. That may be the most important difference of all. In much of the West, the rider is asked to absorb the seams. In Japan, the system tries much harder to absorb them first, but steel and software are not enough. People are part of the infrastructure. Tokyo Metro tells passengers to queue at the platform marks, let people exit first, then board in order. Its own manners guidance tells riders near the doors to step aside and move further into the car. These behaviors can look tiny. At this scale, they are not tiny. A few seconds saved at each stop become line capacity. Predictable movement becomes punctuality. Good manners become operating logic. The same is true on the staff side. If you watch railway workers in Japan closely, you will often see pointing and calling. A conductor points at a signal. A staff member calls the status of a door. To a first-time visitor, it can look ceremonial. In reality, it is a safety technique built around the limits of human attention. A Railway Technical Research Institute study found that pointing and calling reduced mistakes to less than 1/6 of the do-nothing condition. What looks like ritual is really behavioral engineering. That matters because Japanese rail is not impressive only when everything works. It is also impressive in how it handles failure. There are service notices, delay certificates, official rules for substitute travel when operation trouble spreads across the network. Sometimes there are public apologies. The point is not that Japan never fails. The point is that failure is treated as legible institutional responsibility, not just bad luck for the passenger. And then there is the work you almost never see. Much of Japan's railway maintenance happens at night, after the last trains and before the first ones. Tracks, signals, power systems, work zones, stations, rolling stock. The calm that passengers experience in daylight is being manufactured in dark work windows while the city sleeps. JR East safety systems include automated restrictions and track closure procedures designed to keep trains out of maintenance zones. The daytime smoothness is not natural. It is built, checked, and rebuilt over and over again. Which is why romanticizing this system would be a mistake. Tokyo Metro's own data shows its most crowded morning section reaching 163% congestion. The Transport Ministry put the Tokyo metropolitan area's average congestion at 139% in fiscal 2024. The train can feel orderly and still feel exhausting. The system also creates dependence. When so much of urban life is timed to the railway, a broken line is not only a transport problem. It can scramble work, school, childcare, transfers, and the last route home. Precision makes life easier. It also makes more of life lean on the same promise. And sometimes the pressure can become dangerous. In 2005, the Fukujiyama line derailment killed 107 people and injured 562. The official investigation found that the train entered a 70 km/h curve at about 116 km/h. The broader context included fear of punitive retraining for delay. It was a brutal reminder that a culture built around not wasting time can turn cruel if punctuality begins to matter more than judgment. So this is not a story about perfection. It is a story about standards and about cost, about what it feels like when companies, cities, workers, passengers, and habits are all organized around a rare idea. Do not waste public time casually. That is what Japanese trains reveal. Not just better transport, but a different relationship to public life. What many visitors feel on a Japanese platform is not fascination so much as relief. Relief that the shared parts of life can still be organized as if human time matters. The real shock is not the 20-second apology by itself. It is that millions of people live inside a system where that apology makes sense. And that is why Japan's trains can make the West look broken. Not because Japan solved everything, and not because the West cannot build good rail, but because Japan proves another standard is possible. A train can be more than transportation, it can be a daily promise that public life still respects people's lives.